Tractate Beitzah, Daf 3b, Gimel Amud Beis, top of the page, with the words Ravina Amar, L'olam lo tepo. With regard to the contradiction presented by Rabbi Yochanan, which led him to suggest that the opinion should be reversed, Ravina said that this is not the only possible resolution. Actually, do not reverse the opinions. Rather, in the case of the two festival days, one should claim that Rabbi Yehuda spoke to them in accordance with the statement of the rabbis, rather than presenting his own opinion. If so, Rabbi Yehuda's statement should be understood as follows. In my opinion, even on the first festival day, the egg is also permitted, as it is food that was separated. However, according to your opinion, which is that you prohibit liquid that comes from food, at least agree with me that it is permitted on the second day, as there are two sanctities. The first and second days of Rosh Hashanah are not one unit, but two separate entities. Therefore, it is possible that the first day is sacred while the second is a weekday. Consequently, an item prohibited on the first day might be permitted on the second. And the rabbi said to him, no, the 2 days are one sanctity. They are viewed as one single continuous unit. The uncertainty applies equally to both of them. Ravina, son of Rav Ula, said, there is an alternative resolution to the contradiction raised by Rabbi Yochanan. Here, in the case of the egg laid on a festival, Rabbi Yehuda prohibited eating the egg, since it is not from a chicken designated for food, whose legal status is that of food. Rather, the case refers to a chicken designated for laying eggs. And Rabbi Yehuda conforms to his standard line of reasoning, as he holds that there is a prohibition of muktzah. Since the egg is produced by something muktzah, it is certainly muktzah itself, which means that the halacha of food that was separated is inapplicable to this case. The Gemara raises an objection from a Beitzah, which clarifies the issue differently. Both an egg that was laid on Shabbat and an egg that was laid on a festival are considered to be muktzah. And therefore, in both cases, one may not move the egg, neither for the sake of food, nor for any other purpose, nor to cover a vessel with it, nor to support the legs of a bed with it. However, if one wishes, he may cover the egg with a vessel without handling the egg itself, so that it does not break from being accidentally trodden upon. Although it is prohibited to move the egg itself, it is nevertheless permitted to move a vessel for its sake. And even if there is uncertainty with regard to whether this egg was laid on a festival, it is prohibited to move it. And, furthermore, if it became intermingled with 1,000 permitted eggs, they are all prohibited. The Gemara notes, granted, according to the opinion of Rabbah, who said that an egg is prohibited due to the lack of preparation, this case involves an uncertainty with regard to the legal status of an item prohibited by Torah law. And in any case of uncertainty with regard to the legal status of an item prohibited by Torah law, the ruling is stringent. Therefore, an egg is prohibited even if there is uncertainty whether it was laid on a festival. However, according to the opinion of Rabbi Yosef and Rabbi Yitzchak, who say that an egg is prohibited due to a decree, this case involves an uncertainty with regard to the legal status of an item prohibited by rabbinic law. And in any case of uncertainty with regard to the legal status of an item prohibited by rabbinic law, the ruling is lenient. The Gemara answers, the latter clause of the Beitzah, in the latter clause of the Beitzah, we have arrived at a different case. The case does not involve the prohibition of an egg laid on a festival. The case involves an egg laid by a chicken with regard to which there is uncertainty whether it is an animal with a condition that will cause it to die within 12 months, a treifa, which is prohibited by Torah law. The uncertainty with regard to the legal status of the chicken is irrelevant to the egg. Ihachi ema seifa and isarv be'ela of kulan asiros iyam bishlam safik yomtov safik hol hali davar sheyesh lo matirin davar sheyesh lo matirin b'chol davar sheyesh lo matirin afilo be'ela lo batel. The Gemara raises a difficulty. Davar sheyesh lo matirin. That's a real solid concept in Shas. 1562, 2212, 1562, 185, 41. Davar sheyesh lo matirin. Dashlom, Mashlod, Lom, Loshmad, Loshmad. Don't convert Loshmad. No, Davar sheyesh lo matirin. I like that one. Rishun. Anyway, Davar sheyesh lo matirin. The Gemara raises a difficulty response. Okay, say the latter clause the same bride. If it became intermingled with 1,000 eggs, they're all prohibited. Granted, if you say that there's uncertainty whether the egg was laid on a festival and uncertainty whether it was laid on a weekday, then is it an object whose prohibition is temporary? As the egg will be permitted on the following day. And the principle is any object whose prohibition is temporary is not nullified, even by 1,000 permitted items. Since this prohibition will lapse on its own, there is no need to make use of the option of nullification. Anything that it's davar sheyesh lo matirin, its prohibition is temporary. However, if you say that the egg referred to in the Beitzah is an uncertain treifa, is an object of whose prohibition is not temporary, as there is no way to permit the prohibition of treifa, and it should therefore be nullified by a simple majority. See, however, if you say the egg is referred to in the Beitzah as an uncertain treifa, it is not davar sheyesh lo matirin. Davar she'ein lo matirin. As there is no way to permit the prohibition of treifa, and it should therefore be nullified by simple majority. The Gemara adds, and if you say that an egg is significant and is not nullified, as nullification applies only to items that have no intrinsic significance, while a significant object cannot be nullified. That works out well according to the one who said that we learned any item whose manner is also to be counted. In other words, that is sometimes sold by unit rather than by weight or volume, is considered significant. An egg falls into that category, as it is sometimes sold by unit. That item whose manner is exclusively to be counted. However, according to the one who said that we learned, that item whose manner is exclusively counted, in other words, that is always sold by unit, is considered significant, what can be said? Although eggs are often sold by unit, they are also often sold by weight or volume. The Gemara cites the Mishnah where the dispute cited above appears. As we learned in Orla 3, 6, and 7, with regard to one who had bundles of clover, a type of legume, that were diverse kinds of food crops that grew in a vineyard, from which it is prohibited to derive benefit, those bundles must be burned. If the bundles were intermingled with others, and those others were intermingled with others, they must all be burned. This is the statement of Rabbi Meir. And the rabbis say they may be nullified by one part in 200 similar parts. I just made a deposit of $200 yesterday. Nice. When the prohibited prohibition is less than 1/2 of 1% of the permitted portion, the prohibition is nullified. Okay. The Mishnah continues. Rabbi Meir says that they must all be burned, as Rabbi Meir would say that whose manner is exclusive to be counted, is considered significant and cannot be nullified. Therefore, it renders the entire mixture forbidden, and it must be burned. And the rabbis say only 6 items are sufficiently significant to render the entire mixture forbidden. Rabbi Akiva says there are 7. And they are high-quality nuts from Perech, pomegranates from Badan, and sealed barrels of wine, branches of spinach, and cabbage stalks, and Greek pumpkin. Rabbi Akiva adds, even loaves of a homeowner. Different prohibitions apply to these 7 items. That which is fit to be forbidden due to orla, fruit that grows during the first 3 years after a tree is planted is forbidden due to orla. That which is fit to be forbidden due to diverse kinds of food crops that grew in a vineyard is forbidden due to diverse kinds in a vineyard. Avodah Zarah 74a. And it was stated about the wording of this Mishnah that there is an Amoraic dispute. Rabbi Yochanan said that we learned only that whose manner is exclusively to be counted is significant and cannot be nullified, and it is therefore prohibited by Rabbi Meir. And Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish said that we learned any item whose manner is also to be counted is significant and cannot be nullified. Returning to the matter of the egg, the Gemara reprises its question. This works out well according to the opinion of Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish, but according to Rabbi Yochanan, what can be said? Since an egg is not sold exclusively by unit, it is not significant. Therefore, the egg of a treifa should be nullified by a simple majority. Rav Papa said, according to Rabbi Yochanan, this Tana who said that an egg cannot be nullified is the Tana of the halacha concerning a litra of dried figs, who based on his statement said, any item that is counted, even if it is prohibited by rabbinic law, cannot be nullified. And all the more so items prohibited by Torah law, for example, the egg of a treifa. As we learned in the Mishnah, with regard to a litra of dried figs, whose stems were removed, and were dried and pressed in different vessels and shaped into circles, the obligation to tithe fruits is by rabbinic law. If one forgot to tithe the figs and later remembered that he placed the figs into a barrel, and during the process of producing a circle, he pressed the figs onto the mouth of one of the circular vessels in which the circles are formed, and does not know into which circular vessel he pressed it. Or, if he recalls that he pressed it on the mouth of a barrel but does not know in which barrel he pressed it. Or, if he recalls that he pressed it on the mouth of a straw receptacle but does not know in which receptacle he pressed it, Rabbi Meir says that in all these cases there is a dispute between the Tanaim of the previous generation, Rabbi Eliezer